Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello. I'm here for the interview. So I'll be presenting problems and questions. So my first question is that GCI asks for multi-talency like designing, coding, and etc. So do you think it's beneficial for career if you want to become something, you only need to be good at coding or designing. So do you think that GCI is useful?
Um, VM7, who's your guest? VM7, who's your guest?
Hello.
Yeah, who's your guest? Who are you interviewing today?
Uh, Wait a second.
Zika.
Hello. Yes, I thought that the guest will be
Should we come back to
Pram.
you later?
Yes. Do I have to bring a guest or Pram
The,
Pram
Yeah,
and
that's the
Niyar?
only way you can do the interview.
that's the
Okay.
task.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
please come back to me later.
Alright, let's start with
Okay,
someone
fine.
else.
We'll continue to whoever's presenting the how to. Please begin. Um, Guys, who's gonna be doing the how to?
Hello,
Yeah, I. Who's this?
this is Sid Sab.
Okay, are you gonna be presenting the how to?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so please begin.
All right. So the how-to will be on. So the how-to is going to be on using osboxes.org to circumvent the annoying Linux installation process when you're using VirtualBox to run your Linux virtual machine. So the way this will go, let me share my screen. I have the tutorial basically. Okay. Yes. All right. Can you see everything?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so I have a note here. So the way this should work is, one sec, there. 1 second. I'm gonna hide this for a second. 1 sec. Okay. So, so this is a how-to on using OS boxes to circumvent the annoying installation process with Linux when you're using VirtualBox. So a lot of the task in the development is using Linux development, and chances are you're using a Windows or a Mac to is your personal device. So instead of installing and having to ruin your machine with, or not ruin your machine, but having to alter your machine with Linux, you should be using VirtualBox. So once you get VirtualBox, you have to set up the virtual machine of Linux, whichever flavor you're using, and that's a whole process. Once you get VirtualBox, to set up the installation inside of the virtual disk, and you can circumvent that all simply by using osboxes.org, which has these flavors of Linux pre-downloaded and pre-configured. So to start off, as I'm sure many of you have, you need to get VirtualBox. Once you have VirtualBox downloaded, just run the installation, and you'll have this basically. So these are two flavors that I've already used. I'm going to be installing Fedora today because I think that was one of the original instructions. So you have VirtualBox installed, and then what you want to do is download the virtual disk of the flavor of Linux you desire from osboxes.org. So this is the website. This is the trick basically. So you go to the virtual machine images. So these are the two types. We're going to use VirtualBox. VMware is another type. Then what you want to do is figure out which flavor of Linux you want. In this case, I already said it would be using Fedora. So this is it right here. And then you just download. And then as you can see, once it downloads, I already have it downloaded right here, the F31, that's Fedora version 31. So then once you have that all ready, it's going to download it in a 7Z file. So that's 7-zip. It's a certain type of compression. So you're going to need 7-zip. This if you're on Windows, or you're going to need 7-zip if you're on Windows, or if you're on Mac, you're going to use Keka. So just download whichever one is for your system. So I have Keka because I am on Mac, but on my Windows machine, I'd be using 7-zip. So then what you want to do is extract the VDI from the 7-zip. So go here and extract it. Yeah. So it's going to take about 48 seconds. So this is what it'll look like. Hopefully everyone's following. We're just going to let this wait out for a second. It won't take too long, just the rest of this minute. Do you guys have any questions so far about what's happening? No? Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Do you guys have any questions while
Yeah.
it's extracting? No
Anyone
questions?
has any queries? Please ask now.
No.
Okay, so it's almost done. So in terms of a how-to, this was just a build environment setup. Okay. Oh, it has failed. Interesting. I think I know why. Oh, Huh. Oh, okay. Well, that's because it is way too big. So instead, we're going to redo the arc one, I think. Yeah. Remove. Okay. So then you want to go to, so once you have your, I already have the arc one ready. I didn't realize how big the Fedora one was going to be, but that's basically the steps. So what you want to do is click new for your machine, and it's going to be arc. And then, okay. So it already exists. Let's see how, let's do another machine. Let me figure out that. So we're just going to take this one out, and then, so this is the VDI file that I got from downloading Arch. So this is what it should look like after you get your VDI file and you extract it using 7-zip or Keka. So then what you want to do is go to new and then type in the name of the OS which you're using. Make sure this is accurate because as you can see, it automatically updates it. So if you're, no, I wouldn't update, but it's going to choose Linux and it's going to choose which one it is for you if you type in the right name. So basically just do that and then hit continue and then just do the normal stuff and then use an existing one. So here's the trick here is you have to use an existing VDI file and you find that. So you have to add right here and then as you will see, let's go back to that folder. So there. So now you can see it's not attached and that's correct. So you choose that one and you create it. So now you have Arch running, not Arc, Mentor, and then basically you can just start your virtual machine and it will already be set up for you. And then in terms of the password, it will be, you go to your VirtualBox and then FAT, and then the logins. The credentials are here. So the user for the root, the password is osboxes.org. So whenever you need to authenticate it or use like a login, this is the information. So that's basically it. You have a completely functional, as you'll see, let's get it running. And then I think this is it. Oh. And then there. So that's, I typed in osboxes.org, which is like the tradition, which is the password for everything. So here it is. So that's how you get any flavor of Linux you want running set up without having to do any installation on the virtual disk that you make. You can just download the virtual disk and here you have it. So yeah, that's it for my how-to. Does anyone have any questions? Oh. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, so no questions then. So I guess we'll move on. Thanks, Itzhak. It's really informative. And so we got the last thing up now. Somebody's going to be presenting an error. Who was presenting an error? Please begin.
All right. I'm gonna be doing presenting the error. So let me just share my screen real quick.
Hey, am I audible?
Who's
Script.
okay? So I'm gonna be talking about an error on the GCI website. So as you all have seen earlier, can you guys hear me properly? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear
Oh,
you.
you can
Yeah,
hear me?
go
Okay,
on.
that's good. Yeah. Okay, so as you guys have probably seen on the GCI page, we generally talk on the group chat, right? This is done using XMPP. It's a messaging protocol which is coded in XML. So when you try and message someone, like for example, if I send hi, you'll notice that you cannot see anything, right? This is actually due to an error in one of the scripts. So let me just go to the script real quick. Yeah. Okay, 1 second. So just give me a second. So let me just show you how I found the error, and then I'll tell you what the error is. Right. So if you when you try and click on a new person, right? When you look at the console, you're getting all these uncaught type errors. Uh, this is actually because of a very it's because of one line of code. Like every time I look at a new person, you can see that I'm getting like a new set of errors. These are actually functions which determine the basically the connection of the chat, and that's why this is broken because of these errors, and this is why you cannot see any of the messages you send. And after, like, if you can receive some of the messages, but if you come back to the page after a few minutes, those also disappear. So like, now what is the error? The error is in this script called commands.js. So it's a JavaScript file which aids in the XMPP. It helps in creating the connection between 2 points. So let's go to commands.js. So if we go to line 526. So as you can see here, this is where the error is. It's actually because of this one keyword roster. This is where you get the user from. This is where you get the user from. Like if I click after desktop, the roster helps in getting the user object, and this is what determines various functions such as just give me a second. It determines various functions. Let me just give you the functions. So what this roster thing actually determines is this get user function. Just 1 second. Oh wait, I'm searching the wrong place. Sorry. Yeah. This get user uses this user, which is essentially brought from this function. So this whole function get user is spoiled because of this one error, and various functions such as you can see here, get user helps in initializing this variable user, and user is actually called by various functions. For example, how do I increase the size of this? Yeah. For example, the refresh. Yeah, this args.user, which determines how this candy messaging protocol is sent. And then there's even this functionality, this table completion, and there are several instances throughout the code. And one of the major problem with this get roster is it determines it helps in getting the user object, the personal contact. And if you can't get that, these several functions are not able to do their job because of that one user variable, which the one user variable which is not able to like be initialized because the function does not work. And that's why it is not able to establish a private chat. This get user function is the root cause for a series of issues, and many issues can be solved with a seemingly small error. For example, this private chat, that would make our life so much more simpler. I guess my error is done. Does anyone have any questions? Hello?
Okay, I guess nobody has any questions then. So, does anybody else want to contribute to this chat, to this meeting?
Yeah, so I'm planning to present my game progress.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, let me just
Hello, yeah, go on. Yeah.
share my screen. My entire screen application window. Okay. So can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, all right. So I mean, my game is very simple like for now. So I'll just show you guys the the game first, and I'll tell you how it's like, and I'll tell you the code of it. So basically, the ideas of a game is that there are many cubes that are flying around like a space, and then you're supposed to like dodge them, basically. Yeah, basically, but no controls are very flimsy, and then the cubes are like not that great as well. But yeah, that's a general idea of my game. And then the cubes can also collide with each other, and then they will have a angular momentum as well. Yeah, that's basically it. And then I'll show you how I made this game in my code. So okay. So first of all, the first step is to set up the room. So the room is basically like a room object in the scenes, and then you can set a color to it by dotting its material, and then you can set the light of it. And in my scene, I set two lights, one on the left, one on the right. So yeah, and then these are camera setups. These are pretty standard, so I'll just skip over them. And this is a part where I had some challenges, the texture creation of my cubes. So so the way that I did it is that I downloaded images into a folder, and then I just call those images from my code to apply the texture into the cubes. So you see here I assigned wood, which is now a texture, as a JPG file. And then over here I assigned the color map to be wood, which is basically assigning this JPG file to be the texture of this cube. Yeah. That's also I tried to use SVG string, like as you see here. But the SVG string was a bit confusing because it seems to be rather like it's kind of difficult to figure out how to use it without prior knowledge of SVGs. So I just opted for using JPG files instead. That's all for textures. And then for the controls, basically I had to look at a sample code for controls, but the idea is that you have to first start the key press and key release and motion events, and then afterwards you can call those events here. If those events are called, then they will initiate an action, which is defined here. As you see, if you press D, then the action move right will be called. And then if the action move right is called, then it will apply a thrust to the camera, which is the player basically, of a force to the right, which is defined up here. It's basically a vector it's basically a vector going towards right, basically, yeah. And then the thing is that I don't know if it's it's not a bug, but like the funny thing is that if you apply a vector to object and then you don't stop it, it will be there forever. So you have to add like a key release. So when you release a key, you have to add a counter force to stop the force that you just applied to objects. Or else object will keep going towards the direction that you chose. That's basically all.
Okay, yeah. So, are you done?
Yep.
Okay, anybody has any questions for that? Okay, I guess nobody has any questions. So does anybody else want to contribute?
I have a question for the game that he just presented.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, in the event area where he described that we need to add some sort of counter force to counter the movements, can't we just use some sort of, you can say, time-based physics? Suppose that when we press the D key and the object moves on the right path, um, can't it be something like just it is on the game for some time frame, like suppose that you can do it for like a half a second and then it stops after 5 seconds.
Oh, I suppose you can do that, but that kind of creates more logic in the game, right? Because you have to now introduce a time loop scene, basically. So I think that's possible, but I didn't try yet. I can try it afterwards, and I can share with you guys in group chat. But yeah, so I think it's possible to use time for the counter
Yeah,
force.
actually, like if you press the D key and the object moves on the right path or in the right direction, and then it has to stop after some time frame, like suppose like half
After
a
some
second.
time,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Okay, that's it, man.
that would be cool. Yeah.
Okay, is that all? Anybody else any questions?
Oh yeah. Also to
Yeah, please go ahead.
to add on to my presentation, I found that when I look at the sample code, they weren't that helpful because their name doesn't really suggest like what they do. Because for example, when I was searching for a sample code on movements and controls, I had to browse through all the sample codes like after open code and to see actual code to see if they actually talk about like that part of the code or not. So I suggest we somehow rename the codes to show like what they actually teach. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because like I found that I think the only code that teaches how to use control was the proto.py, and I had to search for it like for a long time. So.
Okay, so are you done?
Yep.
Okay, so if you don't have any more questions, then will anybody else want to present anything or contribute anything else?
Yeah, actually, I want to know in the line 70 of this code, there's a syntax called sleep. What is the basic functionality of that? Because yeah, it is waiting for something. I think it's 0.1 second or something like that. So basically, what is being delayed over here?
Oh, sleep.
Yeah, exactly, sleep. The while loop on the 70th line, I suppose.
I'll be honest, I don't exactly know how this function works exactly, but like the main purpose of this function is to keep the client window open. Like because it's basically this is in all of the sample codes. Like it's necessary to have this loop to keep the client window open, basically. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So basically, it is keeping the client window open until you quit it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. So, anybody else?
Hello.
Right.
Hello. I'm here for the interview. I brought a guest.
Oh,
He's Udit.
Oh,
You
okay.
can
Please
see
go
him.
ahead.
Yes. So he's a GCI finalist of last year. He from the organization CC Extractor. He's now 19 and took part in GSOC also. So I'll be interviewing him.
Okay, that's lovely. Please go ahead.
So my first question is that GSI involves many different types of tasks. Like some require designing, some require blog writing, and some coding. So, do you think that it is beneficial to take part in GCI? Because when you think of career choices, you only think of coding or designing, not and. So, what do you think of it?
I personally became involved in GCI because it provided a very real world experience of that type of task you will find in offices or working for companies or freelancing or whatever. So I think it's good for the young kids to get participate in these type of activities and get an idea of the real world situation you will have out there.
Okay. Well, thanks for the answer. So, my next question is that every game developer at some point in his life dreams of making his own game engine. So, do you think that the source code of PySoy, like it's a game engine, so it should be provided or not, as it may help
And
the game?
I mean, for beginners, it's pretty hard to code like graphic engines and physics engines, as beginners. So I don't think they should get started with making game engines from scratch. I mean, making the source code available is another issue. Someone can use it to produce his own new game engine and sell it off. That's like plagiarism and other things. So that I don't think should be available for the users.
But what about competitions like GSOC? Like it's a big competition, and do you think that some tasks should involve giving the source code and making something out of it?
I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat it?
I said that for big competitions like GSOC, do you think that source code should be provided for it so that people can do, they can make tasks, they can do tasks like making their own game engine, and like you were previously talking about, someone can write its own code and sell it like it's their own game engine. So for it, like if they want to sell it, they can, but they should provide a little something that the credit should be given to copyleft games or PySoy or whatever. So what are your thoughts?
That can be done. That's a really good idea, but that's up to the company owners. And I personally don't think the source code should be available either. Yes. It's if you come across even as a beginner, if you come across it, you might feel a little overwhelmed and all. So I don't think should be available for the beginners. And even in GSOC, I don't think it's required for the participants to be given a source code. They could pretty much learn about the code behind the engines anywhere on YouTube, or you can find tutorials anywhere right now.
So, talking of tutorials, do you think that the basic tutorial should be given at the site of Copyleft Games for learning Python or whatever programming required programming language is required? So do you think there should be tutorials provided at the site, like from basic to what is required for PySol?
Yeah, I think that they should be provided from the company or development company whoever is providing the game dev engine should provide the tutorials because game development is not a very popular topic nowadays. You can't find that much tutorials or help from other I don't know game developers and anything. So the company itself should provide for beginners so that they can find all the help that they need from the same place. Yes.
Okay, so thanks for your answer. So does anybody else have to ask any questions on the subject?
Yeah, though I'm not ready for any task yet, but I have a question from Udit.
Yes, you can ask him.
Basically, in GCI and GSOC, we are spending like hours and hours of hard work just for open source. So, why do we prefer open source above closed source? Is there anything specifically beneficial for the developer or the community? Obviously, it is good for the community that the source code is open so that anybody can contribute. But what else, on the other hand, is are there any financial benefits for the developer? Or it's just about the knowledge aspect?
उससे बोलो रिपीट करे उससे बोलो रिपीट करे उससे बोलो
Am I supposed to repeat the question?
No, I got it. You are asking whether the open source is for the beneficial of the users or it is more on the financial side, right?
Yeah, exactly. To be very specific, I just wanted to suppose that Microsoft has all of their projects closed source. Not all, if I'm not wrong. Most of their projects are closed source, like Windows itself, and they sell it for some bucks. But we don't sell the open source software. So how they are beneficial for the developer on the financial aspect, because we are obviously putting hundreds of hours of code in, you can say, TensorFlow, and it is available for free out there. So where the developer is getting the benefit out of their code in financial aspects?
I mean, they provide the open source for the users, but they also the open source softwares are also provided with a license. See, if you want to use the code of the open source, you have to, different companies have different situations for this. Like you'll have to mention them in their whatever you are selling and all, or you will have to buy the software for them and all that. So that's how they earn the money. But open source, it's not really very common these days in very small companies. Like you said, Windows is one of the Windows is selling like millions around these days, and it has not started to work on the open source softwares because it doesn't have to work on worry about its financial side. It needs more programmers and all that. So they are contributing on helping the you know starters, beginners to study and
I think that open source is great for small companies because that's how they can get more without spending more. So that's good for small companies. But like big companies like Microsoft, they should not make their organizations open source as they require money for their work.
Yeah, okay, and coming to the security aspect of the open source softwares, what I have noticed on bug bounty programs like HackerOne and Buckrout, that most of the companies over there are mostly you can say 99% of the company listed on the bug bounty programs are closed source. And what I've noticed that open source softwares are much more safer than the closed source. Anything specific why it is so?
I mean, it's basic psychology. I think that you put a cat in the middle of the field and a cat in a I don't know,
Oh,
cage.
yeah, you can grab group.
I don't get it. But you can if you ask, let's see, if you ask a child to choose between a candy that is available right now on his dinner table, or outside, I'm not getting the
At a
metaphor.
shop. At a
It's
shop.
basically it's basically psychology that he'll want hackers will usually try to break open they'll find it a challenge. Like Windows is keeping its open OS like secured and bragging about it like no one can break it. So hackers will go after that. They will not worry about
Yeah,
open source and using it. It's-
yeah. So basically, it's some sort of psychological thing going around with the hackers that don't challenge me, bro. And if the
yeah.
software is open
Yeah.
source, yeah, it is openly available. You can read the documentation, frame it, and do whatever you can. But these closed source softwares are basically challenging these security researchers to break open and look for the functionality.
Yeah, and they don't want hackers want to hack NASA and the government. They don't want to hack a Starbucks. They want
That's a
Yeah,
to
controversial.
challenge.
you can say. Okay, thanks. That these were my questions so far.
So, does anybody else have questions?
I think no,
Okay.
nobody has questions.
I guess nobody else has any questions. Does anybody else want to present anything or contribute?
Basically,
Okay.
today I joined just to see how things work, and I didn't know any single thing about if we have to bring some guest or contribute or show the how-tos, installations, etc. So nothing for me now.
Okay, fine. So this call happens every week, so you can come again next week. And it's the last call. Has anybody else want to contribute anything?
I have a question. So is there
Yeah,
anyone
please
else
go ahead.
have you guys tried making a game as well? Like have
Yes.
any of you make a game? Like
Graduator has tried.
who have made a game before? Like because sometimes I've encountered some like hard difficulties, and I just so was wondering if someone can we can discuss about all the
Like
games and stuff.
wait. I'll spell his. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'll spell his name on the chat so you can on the call chat so you can check.
Oh, Guaduater,
Yeah,
right?
that guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I will be starting the
He
game
finished the task.
after. I'll be
I
starting
know
the
I'm
game
just
after this meeting. So
Alright.
I know I'm just leaving
You can
right now,
ask me
but
if I have any
I like
questions.
to tell you that
yeah, well, thank you.
I am. I was the I was the guest, so I'll be leaving. But before going, I'd like to tell you that VM7 actually chose me because I have a history of making games. I'm actually working into getting in DigiPen. So if you have any questions for me, like game dev related, so you can ask me. I have used Unity for many years, like just 2 or 3 years.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so any questions for him? Okay, none, I guess. Well, I think that brings our meeting to an end, unless anybody else has anything else to contribute.
Um, Basically, I have a question about do we have any other place to meet, like any Telegram channel or any group, other than the copyleft initial chat that we have on the website?
So far, the XML is the only place you can have as a group chat, because not everyone, like everyone has to use the platform. Otherwise, you cannot exactly create a group channel, right? So, like, we need to find a common platform. Only then we can form a group.
Okay, so Udit disconnected, and yeah, I was just going through the XMPP chat on the website, and what I noticed is that we don't have any sort of notification functionality going around in the chat. Suppose that I send the message, I get some little pop sound, but nothing and nothing like any pop-ups that we get usually from other, you can say, chat platforms like uh, Telegram and so far. So, should we
I
work on adding that functionality? And if we want to add the functionality in the XMPP chat of copyleft games, where are we supposed to find the code base?
Okay. So you can actually download the you can download the site. You'll get all the codes and the scripts and stuff. So, and then you can edit the parts you want, and then you can submit it as a Hedgy bundle to Arc. And if he likes it, he will change the source code on the server.
Okay,
and
great.
in the
So,
meantime, I recommend using another XMPP client like Swift, which gives notifications. So you just have to log in, and it'll all be the same. That's what I use. So I can I don't know if you saw in the chat yesterday, but I was alternating between SidSab and SidSab_macOS. So if you have an XMPP client like Swift, I think that's it. Then it'll give you notifications, and you'll have all the history of the chat too. So in the meantime, I think you should pursue that, trying to add notifications, and I'd love to help if I can. But for now, I would use Swift as the XMPP client. I think it's swift.im. Yeah.
okay, great.
Okay, thank you for that. We will definitely look into Swift. And yeah, anybody else? Anything to comment? Any questions?
Swift.xmpp, is it available for Debian-based systems as well, or just for the Mac OS X?
No, I just use it on the Mac, but it might be. I don't know. Let me check. But not to my
It's
knowledge.
Linux,
I don't know.
yeah, I think it is available for Linux.
Okay. All right.
So, okay then, I think that brings us to the end of this week's meeting. And thanks everyone for joining, and we'll meet again at the same time next week. And thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye guys. Thank you.
Over and out.
Have a great one.